All right, breaking tonight in 6 days, any Americans, any of our allied partners that are inside Afghanistan will be marked for dead, subjugated to the will of the terrorists now running the new Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. And your commander-in-chief has now humiliated this entire country and is being bullied into submission by the terrorists, the Taliban.
We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better.
I can tell you there's no way we can humanly get all of our American citizens and Afghan partners out of country by that time.
It sounds like you're still working on an August 31st deadline.
We're absolutely still aiming towards the end of the month.
When future American soldiers have to go back in to deal with the problem and deal with the incompetence of this administration, how many are going to die?
Either he's senile or he's in denial. But either way, it's reckless for our country, and this disaster is taking place. It's his responsibility.
Why can't you just say the number?
Barbara, I think we're just going to leave it at several thousand right now, and I understand that's not a satisfying answer to you.
It's sickening. I can't believe this is happening in our country today.
And particularly after the decision made today and what we heard today, he will have blood on his hands.
Americans held hostage behind enemy lines. Day 10.
All right, we are now day 10 of Americans held hostage, trapped behind enemy lines. And clearly, President Biden, he's letting the Taliban call all the shots. He will not commit to keeping U.S. forces past the Taliban's August 31st deadline. He will not commit to ensuring the rescue of all of our citizens and our Afghan partners that we promised we would get out if this day ever came. He has no idea how many Americans or how many of our allies are still trapped in Kabul, controlled by the Taliban, or elsewhere in the country. He doesn't know exactly how many Americans have already even been evacuated. And now Fox News is reporting that the U.S. military has started withdrawing from Afghanistan. So today, the U.S. Embassy in Kabul issued an alert. It was later deleted about 30 minutes later, calling on all Americans to leave Afghanistan or they are on their own. Your government. Wow. Just get to the airport, they say. Use your best judgment, they say. Trust that the terrorists, the Taliban, will ensure your safe passage. We've reported for more than a week. They're also saying there is no safe passage. Watch with your own eyes.
We are stranded at home. We can't get to the airport. When we try to get to the airport, we either get beaten up or we're afraid for our lives. Taliban are going door to door, looking for people who has worked with the U.S. government, of course, for the U.S. citizens. So our lives are in extreme danger. We get more of news to stay put than to be told that you're going to be evacuated. This is not comforting at all, because we don't know if we're going to make it out.
That was a fellow American citizen, now hopelessly trapped behind enemy lines, ostensibly a hostage to the goodwill of the terrorist group, the Taliban. The airport is completely encircled. They have covered the entire perimeter, the Taliban. They control who gets in. They control who gets out. And now the Taliban is apparently saying they're blocking all access to the airport for any Afghan citizens. That means people that may have helped us the last 20 years. Biden, he just signed the death certificates of every Afghan that, in fact, has helped the U.S. in the last 20 years. And apparently they even have access to computer data so that these people will be hunted down. They will be murdered. Their families will be murdered. Joe apparently today seemed to care less. Today, in what was a tone-deaf speech delivered over 4 hours late, Biden spoke about infrastructure and voting rights and then eventually got around to the crisis that is Afghanistan. But, of course, took no questions. After all, he may get yelled at. He doesn't want to get in trouble. A slight improvement over last Wednesday when he refused to address Afghanistan at all. And that was a speech about vaccine boosters. Biden is living in an alternate reality tonight, and so is his clueless press secretary, because today, Jen Psaki referred to the ongoing evacuation in Kabul as a huge success. But the people on the ground in Kabul beg to differ. Jen, you might want to watch, circle back, and learn. Take a look.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history.
I'm sure that if they capture me, they will kill me. Like me, there are 100 people. This is called the wrong policy of the United States.
When I went there, they were just whipping people left and right, so I got whipped and I got really scared. I came back.
Bringing American citizens out, it is bringing our Afghan partners out, it is bringing allies out.
I worked half of my life with the U.S. and now they left me behind.
I served basically 1/3 of my life with the U.S. government, and now I'm not even able to save my own family, my own blood.
So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
I'm an American. Rescue me. Evacuate me. Take me home.
That's how Jen and Biden's define success. More than 20 people have died during this so-called evacuation that we know of. Countless others have been brutally beaten by Taliban fighters. Women, children have been gassed, they've been whipped, they've been stabbed. Many evacuees have been forced to pay tens of thousands of dollars to hire private military contractors to escort them to the airport. And just yesterday, Jen Psaki angrily claimed that it was irresponsible to say Americans are stranded in Afghanistan. But just 24 hours later, she said that, of course, some Americans will be left behind after the August 31st deadline. You've got to be kidding. We're going to leave Americans behind? You decide.
Most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan. It's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded. Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not.
If one U.S. citizen was suddenly discovered, saying, hey, I really want to get out and I'm stuck, who knows where, somewhere in Afghanistan or in Kabul, has got any problem, would this trigger a diplomatic, military, all hands on deck type thing to get that person out, whatever the date?
Our commitment continues to be to U.S. citizens. If they want to leave, we will help get them out.
No matter what the date?
Again, we expect there could be some.
That's being stranded. That was aired on the Fox News channel. That woman that we just played, Jen, sadly just one of many contradictions from the Biden administration. First, they told everyone, just shelter in place. And they said, make your way to the airport, but we cannot ensure your safety, but we trust that the Taliban will give you safe passage. Then they said, don't come to the airport on Saturday. It's too dangerous. Now, apparently, anyone who is not out by August 31st, you are on your own. Maybe the worst part of all is we could have easily prevented all of this chaos and all of this carnage. In April, Joe Biden announced that he would draw down all American troops during peak Taliban fighting season in the summer. Now, why so? Why? You want to do a victory lap? I don't know, on September 11th? I have no earthly idea, Joe. In May, we saw the Taliban offensive beginning. Look at this timeline. Pay close attention. It could have and should have been stopped then, dead then. By June, the fighting was taking place in 20 of the 34 provinces throughout the country. Joe Biden ignored it all. By July, the Taliban controlled a large portion of Afghanistan and was picking up steam, and Joe was telling us how great Afghan forces were. On July 2nd, U.S. forces, the dumbest decision up to speed, up to that point, withdrew from Bagram Airfield, leaving Kabul, our embassy, and thousands of Americans totally, completely defenseless against the Taliban invasion. And still they didn't get them out. By August 1st, the Afghan army was in tatters. The Taliban was closing in on Kabul. Joe Biden did not reverse course. He stayed on vacation. He never was able to retake Bagram Airport Base. He did not create a perimeter around key U.S. assets. He did not secure or destroy the billions and billions and billions of dollars of military equipment and Black Hawk helicopters that he left behind. That was short-sighted. That was pretty dumb. There was no plan ever in place whatsoever. And 2 weeks later, the Taliban then marched right to the center of Kabul. Biden still did nothing except stay on vacation. And since then, let's see, the Dutch, the French, the British, well, they've sent troops behind enemy lines into Kabul to extract their citizens with their special forces and their paratroopers, and our military is under strict orders not to leave the airport. Americans were left to fend for themselves, but the Dutch protected their citizens. Their troops went behind enemy lines, the French, the British, but not American troops. This is utter humiliation on the world stage, and worse, thousands of Americans and thousands of our friends and allies, they're likely to be murdered soon by the Taliban that now is in full control. In fact, some are already being tortured. Some are already being murdered. Even Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, Jay Johnson, honestly warning that the situation in Kabul will get a lot worse before it ever gets better. Now Joe Biden needs to grow his spine, answer some basic, pivotal, important questions. He needs to be honest for a change and cut the crap with the spin with Jen Psaki. Joe, will you ensure that every American is out before you leave Afghanistan? Why would you leave one American behind, Joe? Will you pledge not to leave a single American behind? Do we have special forces on the ground who are you willing to send them to rescue American citizens that are telling the news media they can't get to the airport? Will you commit to extracting our Afghan partners who we promised to get out if this day ever came, and you said last week you would get out? And for all the refugees who are rescued, what is being done to vet them? We want specifics. In other words, so we don't have a member of ISIS or Al-Qaeda or ISIS-K sneaking into our country and bringing harm to Americans here. And the most important question is this, Joe. Why didn't you evacuate Americans in May, in June, and July, watching and knowing the Taliban was taking the entire country in record time? There's zero excuse for that. There is no good answer. You failed in what is a surrender. But tonight, let me be clear. The president can still change course. We have less than 7 days now. He can fight back. He can put in the best military on the face of this earth and send them, like the Dutch and the French and the Brits, and extract American citizens. He can make it clear to the Taliban that if they hurt a single American, the consequences for them will be dire, and he needs to mean it. And sadly, tonight, I have zero faith Biden is capable of ever doing the right thing. He's nothing but a career politician, no integrity, no morals, no beliefs, and totally, completely, utterly, cognitively out of it. The only thing Biden seems to care about is Joe Biden and those close to Joe Biden making money. And now come August the 31st, well, that's 7 days from now, I fear that those left behind will face certain death. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.